the suite booked under my name. I work nights at the Hotel Meridian, which means I spend a lot of time watching other people walk into rooms they shouldn't. I'm not moral about it. People do what they do, and they leave me with a paper trail to reconcile. I print folios, replace key cards, calm guests who have discovered that the person they brought doesn't fit neatly into the life they're returning to. My name is Daniel, and on the Wednesday this story starts, someone booked a corner suite under my name. It pinged my screen at 18:07, one of those last-minute reservations that bypass front desk and route straight to me because I'm logged in as night manager. Suite 1904. Guest, Daniel Hart. My name, my credit card on file. A special request in the notes. 2 extra pillows, champagne on ice. Lights low. The email address was a burner with my initials reversed and a number I don't use. I stared at the cursor blinking like a nervous tick and then checked the IP that made the booking. It mapped to a cafe 6 blocks from my apartment, a cafe my wife, Nora, loves for its cinnamon rolls. Sometimes the world doesn't knock, it just lets itself in. I called the number on the reservation. It rang 4 times and then a voice I knew answered with a quiet hello, the kind you give when you're already in a room you shouldn't be in. It was Nora's voice. It was male, lower, wearing a smile. "Reservation for Hart," I said, and I could hear my heartbeat in my teeth. "Great," the voice said. "We'll be there at 8. Click. I stood behind the desk while the lobby filled with people applying cologne to their problems. I printed the registration card and laid it on the counter, my name starring up like a dare. The elevator chimed with the patience of a saint. At 19:40 I texted Nora, "Running late. You good?" 3 dots appeared, disappeared, returned. "Yes, with Mia. Yoga ran over, don't wait up." Mia is a friend from the studio, the kind of beautiful that doesn't apologize for itself. I typed OK and imagined the cinnamon on Nora's wrists. At 19:58 the doors opened and the man from the phone stepped out with Nora beside him. I know how these things work, men who think they are brave and women who are tired of being good, but my brain still stalled. He was a little older than me, the sort of elegant that comes with tailored habits. His hand hovered at Nora's back in a way that said practice, not accident. Nora wore the black dress we bought together in Rome, the one I'd zipped for her with my mouth once, laughing because our apartment had been too warm and because we were too. She saw me across the lobby and in that sliver of a second everything on her face happened. Shock, calculation, a plea, a decision. Then her expression settled into a mask I didn't recognize. "Welcome to the Meridian," I said, which is a sentence I'm paid to say, not one I expected to give to my wife and a man who was not me. "Checking in for Hart," the man said smoothly. "2 keys." "Of course," I said, printing plastic lives. I placed the key cards on the marble, my fingers steady the way they get when the building is on fire. Nora's hand trembled only once when our fingers didn't touch. The man, his name I would learn was Adam, lifted the keys, signed my name on the registration line, and thanked me with a confidence that had never burned down anything for him. As they headed to the elevator, Nora glanced over her shoulder at me with an ache that wasn't apology yet. The elevator doors closed on my reflection. I am not dramatic by nature. I didn't run. I didn't shout. I printed the night audit, checked minibar counts, fielded a complaint about the jazz in the bar being too jazzy. At 20:19, I took the service elevator to 19 with a bottle of champagne I waved from their bill. I am capable of being cruel in polite packaging. Outside 1904, I knocked twice, the way staff do. Adam opened the door and up close he smelled like cedar and victory. He smiled in a way that didn't include his eyes. "You're efficient," he said. I try, I said, raising the bottle. Compliments of the manager. Send it in, he said, turning away like I worked for him, which at that moment I did. Nora stood by the window, the city behind her like static. She was barefoot. The dress straps cut into her shoulders like guilt. She did not run to me. She did not speak. I set the champagne on the table, the flutes chiming like glass birds. Adam disappeared into the bedroom, murmuring something about a playlist. I turned to Nora. We looked at each other the way accidents look at consequence. Daniel, she said finally, and my name on her mouth hurt. How long? I asked. She closed her eyes. A month, maybe two, I don't know. Time changes shape when you're lying. Why here? I said. Why under my name? She opened her eyes, and they were the eyes I fell in love with, but aligned to a different horizon. So you'd have to see it, she said, and the honesty floored me. So I couldn't keep pretending this was a secret I could carry alone. Adam, I said, because saying a name gives structure to rage. An old client, she said. We reconnected through Mia after a gallery opening. He buys paintings with the ease of a man who has never cooked his own dinner. I laughed once sharp. The bedroom music began, some tasteful soul he probably selected for being pre-approved by magazines. Nora flinched. Say what you need to say, she whispered. I wanted to say everything ugly and leave. I wanted to tell her she had made our home a crime scene. Instead, I heard my voice ask, is it love or escape? Sometimes they're the same, she said. Sometimes escape is the only love you can afford yourself. Adam stepped back into the room, buttoning his cuff, and I saw what Nora might have seen, competence, a kind of curated safety. He looked between us and understood at once, the way men who are never surprised do. He spoke to me like we were colleagues at a merger's table. This is unnecessary, he said. We're adults. It's my hotel, I said, and my wife. He smiled with the patience of a tennis coach. Not tonight. I stepped close enough to smell his cologne and lowered my voice. You will treat her gently, I said. You will not make a story out of her. You will not be careless with this. If you are, I know your assistant's name, I know you're bored, and I know how to flood a market with gossip. I am better at systems than you are at secrets. He studied me with a new respect that ached like pride. Understood, he said, and went back to his bedroom like a man retreating to a set he built. I poured champagne into the flutes and handed one to Nora. Our fingers touched and memory ricocheted through us like a fuse. She looked terrified and brave and beautiful. We clinked. We didn't drink. Why didn't you tell me you wanted out? I asked. We are not a prison. We built this together. Because I didn't want out, she said. I wanted in. Into a part of me I misplaced in the laundry. He only found the door. And I was what? I said. The hallway. You were home, she whispered, and the word almost undid me. But sometimes home makes you forget how to arrive. We stood too close for two people considering the edges of their marriage. There are directions you move because physics tells you to. I reached up and traced a line where her dress strap had pressed. She shivered like an instrument being tuned. Daniel, she said. Warning, invitation, apology, all stacked inside 2 syllables. I set the flute down. She set hers down. We didn't kiss like cheaters. We kissed like historians, cataloging tenderness and loss, the muscle memory of 1,000 small mornings. My hand found the small of her back where I have always kept my promises. She pressed into me and made a sound that belonged to both of us. It wasn't forgiveness. It was recognition. We broke apart with the discipline of people who knew a single step further would rewrite the night in a different code. We breathed. We stood. She touched my jaw the way she does when she wants me to be braver than myself. What do you want? she asked. I want the truth to stop feeling like punishment, I said. I want you to come home and tell me everything, and I want to live with what that means. I don't know how, she said. I'll learn with you, I said, surprising myself with the softness that arrived when I expected explosion. Not in this room, not with him in the next. A knock at the door, soft. Room service I hadn't ordered, which meant Adam had pressed a button. He emerged again, feigning obliviousness expertly. "Shall we?" he began. "No," Nora said, and her voice had a new bone in it. "We shall not." He looked almost wounded. "We had a plan." "We had a plot," she said. "I mistook it for a life." He recovered, men like Adam always do. "This is a mistake," he said to her, ignoring me now, speaking to the version of her who had believed in his curation. "He'll forgive you and then he'll punish you with goodness. You'll drown in the quiet." Nora glanced at me and I tried to keep my face from promising more than I could deliver. "He won't," she said. "He'll fight ugly and then we'll build something honest. Or we won't, but it will be ours." Adam exhaled through his nose, a small, expensive sound. "I don't do scenes," he said. "You do arrangements," I said. "The difference is where the people are." He took his jacket from the chair, slipped it on like armor, and paused at the door. "You're very sure of yourself for a man who just watched his wife arrive on another man's arm." "I'm not sure of anything," I said. "That's why this might work." After he left, we sat on the window seat and watched the city argue with itself in lights. We didn't touch for a long minute, as if the room were radiating a history neither of us wanted in our skin. Then she leaned into me and I leaned into her, and we formed the shape we've always made without practice. "What happens now?" she asked. I thought of every guest who had stood in front of me, trying to negotiate a better reality at checkout. "We pay the bill," I said. "Then we decide if we're extending the stay." She laughed, sharp, wet, relieved. She kissed the place below my ear that makes me forget my name. I let myself want her, which is different from claiming. The edge was there, the heat that had threaded us since Rome, since the broken AC and the laughter and the zipper between my teeth. We let it warm us without burning anything sacred. I rested my hand against the side of her neck and felt her pulse quicken like a pledge. We took the elevator down together. At the desk, I voided the reservation, issued a refund, printed a zero-balance folio. The paper still said my name. I slid it to her like a contract. She signed in the space for guest, as if the word were a truer description than wife tonight. Outside, the air smelled like rain rehearsing. We walked the long way home. On the bridge over the river, she stopped and faced me, wind lifting the ends of her hair, the city humming beneath us like an engine we could still ride. "I should tell you everything," she said. "The sloppy parts, the soft parts, the parts I'll hate myself for." "Tell me what matters first," I said. "We can catalog the rest like receipts." "It mattered that he looked at me like I had a choice," she said. "It matters that you do too, but your choice includes me." "Then choose," I said. "I choose us," she said. "But I need a door in the house that's mine, a room where I'm not a wife first." "We'll build it," I said. "We'll paint it a color we secretly hate and then love. We'll lose the key and then remember the hinge squeaks in a friendly way." She smiled into my mouth when I kissed her. It wasn't cinematic. It was stubborn. It felt like a handshake between versions of ourselves we hadn't introduced properly. We walked again, passing the cafe with the cinnamon rolls where the booking had been born. Through the window, I saw the girl at the register wiping down the counter like she was erasing a confession. Back at the apartment, we didn't pretend we were new. We kissed in the kitchen with the lights on, two people who had learned the topography of each other's faults and still wanted the map. Her dress fell to the floor like a decision. My shirt followed. We touched like a vow, open-eyed, careful, hungry. Not pornographic, personal. My hands memorized her again. Her breath found that old rhythm. We were not forgiving, we were choosing. Later, she slept with her face turned toward me in the soft cruelty of a lamp we forgot to switch off. I lay awake and watched the city make and unmake promises on our ceiling. My phone buzzed once. A text from an unknown number. Regret is a poor decorator. Adam, I guessed. I set the phone face down and reached for Nora's hand, slid our fingers together like zippers. In the morning, I returned the manager keys and clocked out. I printed a new nameplate for my station because the old one had a scratch I'd never noticed. When the printer spat the fresh plastic, it gleamed in a way that had nothing to do with light. I set it in the stand and stood behind the desk like a man who has learned that doors are more honest than walls. A week later, a package arrived at the hotel. No return address. Inside, a slim box with a small brass key and a card. On the card, room for you, no signature. The key didn't fit any Meridian lock. It fits ours, though, the little attic space we cleared out and painted a color we mocked and then adored. Nora keeps a plant in the window that pretends not to need much. Sometimes I sit up there before my shift and listen to the house breathe. Sometimes she does. Sometimes we do, together, our hands touching on the floorboards. The quiet between us not a punishment but a room we built and walked into on purpose.